The screen was inundated with bullet comments. Has the stepmother once again taken a backseat? Sigh.jpg. While the biological mother toils abroad for her career, the stepmother lounges at home. What a marvel. Is Chiwa holding candy? Isn't the stepmother going to intervene? She's only 5. Warning for cavities. I reclined on a lounge chair in the garden, sunglasses perched atop my head, squinting at the live streaming tablet held by the director beside me. Indeed, I was recording a children's variety show, Weekends with Mom. A wealthy stepmother, caring for 2 children, 5-year-old twins Su Wanqing, and the stepmother, who has been derided across the internet for being laid back. Director Xiao Wang, beads of sweat forming on his forehead, silently urged me with his lips. Mrs. He, could you say something? Engage with them? I leisurely sat up slightly, and the camera zoomed in on my face. What's there to manage? I addressed the lens, my tone languid. The candy was taken by her from the jar, the teeth are hers. If they rot, it's her pain, not mine. The bullet comments exploded instantaneously.
Wow.
What kind of devilish statement is this? Stepmother confirmed. Poor Chiwa, darling. What about Mr. He? Come see your wife. I cast a glance at the little girl sitting on a small stool beside me, carefully licking a pink strawberry candy. Chiwa, the apple of Zian's eye, looked like a little mouse that had stolen oil, her big eyes crescent-shaped with delight. Next to her, her brother Yu wore a serious expression, poring over a thick book of Fundamentals of Physics. His brow furrowed in concentration. Qingyu, darling. How obedient. What are you reading? Good heavens. A physics book? 5 years old and studying physics? Is the stepmother forcing him? Abusing a child prodigy? It's surely a publicity stunt. Just for show. I cleared my throat, addressing both the camera and the 2 children. Chiwa, is the candy delicious? The little girl licked her lips and nodded vigorously. Delicious. Strawberry flavor. As long as it's tasty, savor it well. I replied nonchalantly. This is the last one for today. I've returned the jar to its place. If you wish for more, you'll have to wait until 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Hikayu's little face instantly fell, but seeing she still had half a candy left, she quickly savored it, whispering, got it, Susu. She has never called me mother since the day I came to the He family. She has called me Susu. He Qingyu is even cooler, simply addressing me by my name, Su Wanqing. I turned to the boy. Qingyu, do you understand? Without raising his head, He Qingyu pointed at a formula in the book. Here, the magnitude and direction of the force. I don't quite grasp it. That I adjusted my position on the lounge chair for greater comfort. To put it simply, if you push Chiwa a bit, the harder you push, the farther she flies. That's the magnitude of the force. If you push her to the left, she topples to the left. That's the direction. Do you comprehend? He Qingyu lifted his head, his obsidian-like eyes fixed on me, pondering for 2 seconds before nodding. Understood. Force is a vector, with both magnitude and direction. After stating this, he returned to his book. The bullet comments filled with ellipses. This explanation seems quite reasonable, doesn't it? A 5-year-old understands vectors? I only grasped it at 20. We're going off track. The crux is that the stepmother doesn't monitor the children's candy intake. She does. She limits it to 1 piece a day. I find that quite sensible. Sensible, my foot. A biological mother would certainly forbid even a single piece. Director Xiao Wang's face contorted into a frown. He likely anticipated me to enact a heart-wrenching drama of a stepmother rigorously managing her stepchildren, or perhaps a refined portrayal of a wealthy matron gracefully raising children. Unfortunately, I embody neither of those roles. This is me, Su Wanqing, 3 months into my marriage as the stepmother of the prestigious He family. He Jian, my rather unremarkable husband, is 8 years my senior, his late ex-wife an internationally acclaimed pianist who succumbed to illness 3 years ago, leaving behind a pair of fraternal twins. He himself is the helm of the He group, perpetually busy. He claimed he married me for my ease of mind, unblemished family background, from an ordinary teaching family. And my quiet demeanor, which is merely a euphemism for laziness, believing I could reign in the 2 little tyrants spoiled by their late mother's family. The method of restraint? Perhaps it lies in my laissez-faire approach. I do not compel He Qingyu to abandon his obsession with physics books to memorize the 300 Tang poems. I do not thwart He Qiyue's natural love for various candies and snacks, yet I draw a clear line. I do not insist they must call me mother. Addressing me as Su or Su Wanqing suffices. Unlike the parenting experts, nutritionists, and early education instructors hired by the late wife's family, who seem eager to fill every minute of the children's day, my principle is simple. As long as safety and health are not compromised and basic morals are upheld, you are free to act as you wish. I will provide a safety net and take a backseat. He Jian remains non-committal, focusing solely on outcomes. The outcome is that since my arrival, The household has been far less chaotic, and the children have miraculously not scared off any tutors. Yet evidently, the audience is unconvinced. Following the premiere of the children's reality show, stepmother Su Wanqing's laissez-faire parenting skyrocketed to trending status. Criticism rained down, occasionally punctuated by a few faint voices. The children seem quite at ease. It matters little. He Jian pays my salary, and the contract stipulates my cooperation in maintaining a necessary public image, including participation in this children's program. I shall partake in the recording. After all, my laid-back persona remains steadfast. After the first episode, I returned to the expansive villa of the He family, large enough for a horse to gallop. Upon entering, He Qingyu, clutching his physics book, approached me uncharacteristically. Su Wanqing, can you explain friction using Qiyue? I slipped off my high heels and reveled in the coolness of the marble floor, sighing contentedly, sure. Look at Qiyue running on the floor in her little socks. If she runs too fast, she might slip, right? That's because the friction is too low. If she wears little shoes with rubber soles, the friction increases, making it less likely for her to slip. Got it? He Qingyu's eyes lit up. Got it. Friction relates to the roughness of the contact surface. He clutched his book and dashed off. He Qiyue sidled up, tugging at my clothing. Su, can I have 2 pieces of candy tomorrow at 3 o'clock? 1 strawberry and 1 orange flavored? I looked down at her. Her bright eyes sparkled with anticipation. No, I replied firmly. The rule is 1 piece a day. You can choose not to eat it today and save it for tomorrow. But you must forego today's piece. Instantly, her lips puckered in a pout, her large eyes filling with tears as she gazed at me in reproach. The nanny, Zhang Ma, watched with concern, her words unspoken. I crouched to meet her gaze. Qiyue, crying won't help. Rules are meant to be followed. Crying today, 1 tea yield more candy. However, I shifted my tone. If you adhere to the rule today, at 3 o'clock tomorrow, I will hand you the candy jar and allow you to choose your favorite flavor. I promise. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she sniffled, seemingly weighing her options. Ultimately, her anticipation for tomorrow's candy triumphed over today's grievance. She pouted and softly conceded. All right then, Su must keep her word. Of course, I ruffled her soft hair. This moment was captured by a camera that He Ziyan had installed in the living room, becoming material for the second episode. Unsurprisingly, it incited another wave of criticism. What a heartless stepmother. The child is crying and she refuses to give her candy. Is it truly heartless to impose such a rule? Is 1 piece of candy a day too excessive? For heaven's sake, this is the He family. They could buy a candy factory. Such stinginess. The issue isn't the candy. It's the attitude. Look at her cold demeanor. She shows no emotion whatsoever. She addresses the children by their full names. He Qingyu. He Qiyue. Would a biological mother do that? The uproar online did not reach my ears. He Ziyan was preoccupied, too busy to concern himself with these matters. My late wife's family, the renowned pianist's mother, Mrs. Lin, did calls several times from overseas, her tone elegant yet undeniably tinged with disapproval, subtly accusing me of lacking warmth and being overly permissive in my parenting approach. I responded with noncommittal affirmations, then reclined on the porch's rocking chair to bask in the sun and catch up on sleep. Warmth? Can it be consumed? Permissiveness? Surely better than the previous attempts to pressure the children to the brink of academic aversion? Days rolled on amidst my laissez-faire existence and the online scrutiny, leading to the recording of the 3rd episode of the children's program. This episode's theme was a parent-child kitchen adventure. The production team likely anticipated a scene of me floundering chaotically, the kitchen in disarray. In the kitchen, professional chefs had prepared safe dough, molds, and simple ingredients. The camera focused on the 3 of us. He Qiyue excitedly danced around the countertop. Su, I want to make bear-shaped cookies. He Qingyu, however, was fixated on a small bowl of lemon juice and a bottle of baking soda, his expression contemplative. These 2 items were props I had specifically requested the chef to prepare. All right, I'll roll up my sleeves, I announced, exposing my forearms. Qiyue, go wash your hands thoroughly for 20 seconds. The little girl joyfully scampered off to the sink. I turned to He Qingyu. Qingyu, do you want to make cookies or do something else? He pointed to the lemon juice and baking soda. This. I smiled. Very well. That will be your kitchen task. I pushed the small bowl of lemon juice towards him and handed him a tiny spoon of baking soda. Mix them together and see what happens. He Qingyu, rarely displaying curiosity, cautiously poured the baking soda into the lemon juice. Instantly, a flurry of fine bubbles erupted. Wow! It exploded. He Qiyue, having washed her hands, rushed back just in time to witness the spectacle, exclaiming in delight. He Qingyu's eyes widened, fixated on the bubbling mixture. This is an acid-base reaction, I explained at the opportune moment. Lemon juice is acidic, while baking soda is basic. When they meet, they produce carbon dioxide gas, which creates these bubbles. The fluffy holes in the steamed buns we eat are also formed by the carbon dioxide gas produced by yeast. He Qingyu listened intently, even dipping his finger into the bubbles to take a whiff. Is this stepmother teaching the child chemistry? 5 years old. Can he really comprehend? Look at Qingyu's expression. He's super interested. Is it a happy accident? She must have intended for the children to play with bubbles. The barrage of comments erupted once again. I paid no heed, guiding Hichiyue to roll out the dough and use molds to cut out bear shapes. The little girl ended up covered in flour and giggling uncontrollably. Having had his fill of bubbles, Hichiyue washed his hands and joined us. He eschewed the molds, instead tearing off a small piece of dough, attempting to shape it into a sphere, or perhaps an atomic model. I ignored him, merely reminding, Qingyu, the dough is meant for baking. Don't make it too thick, or the center one to cook through. He acknowledged with an "oh," flattening his abstract creation a bit. The cookies were placed in the oven. During the waiting period, the production team orchestrated a parent-child QA segment under the guise of fostering understanding. The host, with a sweet smile, asked, Chua, what do you like most about Susu? Hichiyue, licking the residue of flour and icing from her fingers, tilted her head and pondered seriously. Susu keeps her promises. If she says she'll give candy at 3 o'clock, she definitely will. Moreover, she lowered her voice as if sharing a secret. Susu won't secretly tell Dad that I snuck some candy. The comments flooded in. Pfft. The child is too honest. The key point, the stepmother won't spill the beans. Has she won the child's trust? The host then turned to Qingyu. What about you, Qingyu? Why do you enjoy being with Susu's mother? Qingyu, with a cool expression, replied, she doesn't bother me. The host inquired, what do you mean? He elaborated. When I'm reading, she doesn't keep asking me questions or insist that I must go out to play. She only explains things when I need her to. After a moment's contemplation, he added, her explanations are quite acceptable. The comments erupted. Ha ha. Qingyu's acceptable must be the highest praise. This stepmother seems to have grasped the essence of dealing with a genius child. Not intrusive. What a precious quality. If only my parents had this awareness. The host, feeling somewhat awkward, directed a question toward me. Mrs. He, what do you find most challenging about taking care of 2 children? I gazed into the camera and replied candidly. Waking up early. They are full of energy and wake up around 6. Meanwhile, I am someone who requires 8 hours of sleep to function normally. The comments chimed in. Haha. So relatable. Even a wealthy lady fears early mornings. Is that it? Aren't you going to mention how much effort it takes to raise children? The laid-back persona remains intact. The host likely sensed that I was a tough nut to crack and hastily concluded the QA session. The cookies emerged from the oven, shaped in curious forms, and surprisingly, they tasted quite delightful. Hichiyue held a little bear cookie with a burn ear, savoring it as if it were a Michelin-starred dish. Once the recording wrapped up and the production team departed, I was about to retreat to my room when He Ziyan returned home earlier than usual. He removed his suit jacket and handed it to the butler, his gaze sweeping across the living room where our son was quietly reading and our daughter was playing with her new Barbie doll, finally resting on me. There was a hint of fatigue etched on his brow, yet his eyes remained sharp. Is the program finished? Yes. The public opinion online isn't favorable. He moved to the bar and poured himself a glass of water. Oh. I nestled into the sofa, scrolling through my phone, my head down, noting that posts criticizing me were garnering considerable attention, essentially offering free publicity, saving on promotional expenses. Mr. He, profit gained. He Ziyan momentarily paused, seemingly taken aback by my logic. He set down his glass, approached me, his towering figure exuding an air of intimidation. Mrs. Lin called me. His voice was low and devoid of emotion. She is quite concerned. I put down my phone and looked up at him. Concerned about what? That I am not adhering to the elite training plan set for her daughter during her lifetime? That I haven't enrolled Qingyu in a gifted class? Or perhaps that Qiyue had one too many candies? He Ziyan remained silent, merely observing me, his deep-set eyes resembling searchlights, as if attempting to discern something from my expression. He Ziyan, I met his gaze, my tone calm. Did you marry me to be a nanny, a target, or to disrupt something? His eyes flickered slightly. I continued. If it is to be a nanny, I ensure their safety, health, adherence to basic rules, and emotional stability. I believe I have met the requirements. If it is to be a target, I can weather the external pressures without concern. But if you wish for me to dismantle the unrealistic, perfectionist expectations from your ex-wife's family that could drive the children to madness, I paused. That will require additional compensation. The living room fell silent. Even Hee-Ching-yu had ceased his page-turning, and Hee-Chiyua, clutching her doll, stole a glance in our direction. Suddenly, Hee-Jian chuckled. Not a mere courteous business smile, but a genuine one, albeit subtle. Su Wanqing, he articulated my name, a hint of amusement in his voice. You are more intriguing than I anticipated. He raised his hand, seemingly intending to touch my face, but ultimately just tapped the coffee table in front of me. You need not concern yourself with public opinion. I will handle matters with Mrs. Lin. You may continue. He turned and ascended the stairs, leaving behind a graceful silhouette. Oh, I responded, picking up my phone once more, feeling an inexplicable sense of relief. It seemed that, for the time being, my employer was satisfied with my performance. Hee-Chiyua nestled beside me and whispered, Susu. Dad said you're interesting? Yes. I patted her head, implying that I am not as dull as others. The storm appeared to have temporarily subsided. In the 4th episode of the family variety show, the production team likely felt that the daily family life had exhausted its potential for drama, choosing instead a large parent-child farm in the suburbs as the setting, with a theme of nature exploration. The sky was blue, and the clouds white. The grass lush and green, and the air refreshing. The children joyfully ran about, feeding rabbits and observing lambs. I found a hammock under a tree and leisurely lay back. The camera? Let it be. They're here. The classic laid-back pose is on display. Lying on a hammock at the farm? No wonder it's you, Sue. Bye-bye. She really has no burdens at all. Honestly, lying on a hammock in this weather is so comfortable. I want to do it too. Hee-Chiyua flitted about like a butterfly, having a splendid time in the rabbit garden with her friends. Meanwhile, Hee-Ching-yu was captivated by a small wind turbine model in a corner of the farm, squatting there in deep concentration, his little brows furrowed. I squinted my eyes, savoring the gentle breeze and dappled sunlight, on the verge of dozing off. Suddenly, a piercing cry shattered the tranquility of the farm. Mommy! Mommy! It was Hee-Chiyua's voice, filled with unprecedented terror. I jolted upright from the hammock, my movements so swift that even the cameraman was caught off guard. The camera shook violently, capturing my tense profile and sharp gaze in that instant. The comments flooded in. Whoa. Is something wrong? Chiyua is crying. What happened? The stepmother's reaction is so quick. I followed the sound, darting forward like an arrow. A crowd had gathered around a small pond beside the rabbit garden. Hee-Chiyua was soaked, being held by a staff member, sobbing uncontrollably, her little face ashen. Cha! I pushed through the crowd and pulled her from the staff's arms. Her small body was icy, trembling like a leaf in the wind, clinging tightly to my clothes, crying so hard she could barely speak. The rabbit fell in. A nearby staff member, pale with fright, stammered an explanation. Yes, I'm sorry, Mrs. He. A little rabbit ran too fast and slipped into the pond. Miss Chiyua saw it and jumped in to rescue it, without a second thought. Although the water isn't deep, the bottom is muddy and she got stuck, which scared her terribly. Indeed, the pond water only reached an adult's knees, but for a 5-year-old child, it could be fatal, especially when stuck in the mud. My heart raced, and dread coiled around me like a cold snake. Yet I knew I couldn't panic now. I held Hee-Chiyua tightly, using my body to warm her chilled form, patting her back quickly while my voice remained unusually steady and clear, drowning out her sobs. Chiyua, look at me. Susu is here. It's all right. Did they get the rabbit out? She cried in gasps, barely opening her tear-filled eyes. When she recognized me, she calmed down slightly and pointed toward the pond. Over there, brother. I followed her gaze. Hee-Ching-yu had also rushed over at some point, his small figure squatting by the pond, cradling a similarly drenched, shivering white rabbit in his hands. He wrapped the rabbit in his own jacket, awkwardly drying it off. His little face tense, lips pressed into a thin line. Security personnel, provided by the production team, had arrived, swiftly managing the scene and maintaining order. Director Xiao Wang was pale with fear, stuttering apologies into the camera. I had no time to concern myself with them. I bent down, pressed my forehead against Hee-Chiyua's cold brow, my voice softening yet imbued with undeniable strength. Chiyua, you did wonderfully. You saved the little rabbit. You are a brave little hero. But I cupped her small face, ensuring she met my gaze. Promise Susu that next time you encounter danger, you will call an adult first. Okay? Your safety is more important than 100 rabbits. Do you remember? Hichiyua was captivated by my gaze and tone. Her sobs subsiding as she nodded vigorously. I remember. So obedient, I murmured, planting a gentle kiss on her forehead and embracing her more tightly. I turned to the security personnel beside us, instructing them, please prepare a dry towel and warm water immediately. The child needs to stay warm. Then, I looked back at Qingyu, the rabbit is all right, isn't it? He raised his head, his eyes still reflecting the remnants of fear but overshadowed by concern for the rabbit. It's very cold and trembling. Hand it over to that uncle over there. I gestured to the staff nearby. They will take care of it. You did excellently, Qingyu. Your reaction was swift. I offered him an encouraging glance, which caused his tense little face to relax slightly as he cautiously handed over the rabbit. It was merely a false alarm. Yet, the live broadcast captured every moment. Hichiyua's selfless kindness, Qingyu's composure amid crisis, and my sudden awakening from the hammock. Rushing forth with steady resolve to comfort the children and emphasize safety above all. After a brief silence, the barrage of comments exploded. Oh my, that scared me. Thankfully, everything is fine. Chiyue is so brave. But it was too dangerous. The stepmother is right. Safety first. Qingyu is amazing too. He saved the rabbit at the first opportunity. The focus is on this stepmother. The speed at which she rushed over. The way she held the child. Her soothing tone. My goodness. She is a completely different person from her usual lazy demeanor. She was so composed. Not a bit flustered. Clear instructions. The way she held Chiyue. My heart aches. That line, your safety is more important than 100 rabbits, brought instant tears. Who said she was emotionless before? Look at that gaze. That action. Can anyone fake that? So bye-bye. How many surprises have I yet to discover about you? I'm now a fan. This stepmother is reliable. When it matters, she truly steps up. I apologize. I'm sorry for previously criticizing her for being lackadaisical. Public opinion underwent a dramatic reversal overnight. The stepmother of the wealthy Su Wanqing responded with remarkable swiftness. Kia. The little hero. Your safety is more important than 100 rabbits. Su Bai's persona crumbled. Several keywords dominated the trending searches. Clicking on them revealed numerous clips of me holding the drenched Chiyue, speaking with unwavering resolve. The comments were no longer filled with uniform insults, but rather an outpouring of concern, relief, praise, and apologies. Hijian called me that evening. His voice, coming through the receiver, was somewhat deeper than usual. You handled today's events exceptionally well. It's part of my duty, I replied succinctly. He fell silent for a few seconds before continuing. The online sentiment has shifted. Mrs. Lin has temporarily ceased her criticisms. This was expected, considering I had saved her precious granddaughter. However, he then shifted his tone, subtly probing, how did you know what to do at that moment? Your reaction was swift. My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't very well admit that I had volunteered at an orphanage in a previous life and dealt with similar incidents, could I? I vaguely replied, common sense coupled with quick thinking. He did not press further, merely stating, the child was frightened. Please take extra care. If you need anything, inform the housekeeper. Understood. After ending the call, I walked to the children's room. Hichiyue had already taken a warm bath, consumed a soothing soup, and was curled up in her blanket, her little face slightly pink but still bearing a faint frown. Hichiyue sat at the small desk by the bed, not reading but gazing out the window, his little fists clenched tightly. I approached him and gently touched his shoulder. He turned to me, his dark eyes feigning calmness, but revealing a hint of vulnerability. Su Wanqing, will my sister still have nightmares? She might, I answered honestly, but that is all right. We are all here. It's natural to feel afraid. Qingyu, you did exceptionally well today, saving the little rabbit and protecting your sister. He seemed taken aback by my candid acknowledgement that his sister might be scared, pausing momentarily. I observed his tense little face and softened my voice. You were scared too, weren't you? Qingyu pressed his lips together tighter, his eyes glistening with unshed tears, and finally nodded gently. Being afraid is not shameful. I sat on the carpet beside him, meeting his gaze at eye level. Admitting fear is the true essence of courage. Do you need Su to keep you company for a while? He remained silent for a few seconds before murmuring, I picked up the book titled Basic Physics on his desk and casually flipped to a page. Now, would you explain this to me? Force and motion? I seem to have forgotten a bit. Qingyu glanced at me, appearing to understand my intent to distract him. He leaned closer, pointing at the illustrations in the book, and began to explain haltingly. As he spoke, his tense body gradually relaxed, immersing himself in the world of knowledge. That night, I sat on the carpet in Hee-Ching-Yu's room, listening to him explain Newton's first law for an extensive period. Eventually, he grew tired, his little head drooping against my shoulder as he drifted off to sleep. I lifted him onto the bed and tucked him in. Upon returning to my own room, I finally felt the weight of exhaustion. My body was not fatigued, but my heart was weary. The sensation of lingering dread washed over me. What if the water had been a bit deeper? What if the mud had been a bit thicker? I shook my head, casting those thoughts aside. Fortunately, there were no what-ifs. The fifth and final episode of Kids' variety show premiered amidst immense anticipation and attention. The viewer count soared, and the comments were unexpectedly harmonious. Good morning, Sister Sue. Here to see my darling Chiyue. What book is Ching-Yu reading today? Where is Sue Bye-Bye lounging today? Director Xiao Wang was all smiles. The theme of this episode was family time, recorded at the He family's villa. The first half unfolded smoothly. Chiyue was painting in the garden while Ching-Yu pieced together a complex mechanical model in the living room. I remained on the terrace in a lounge chair, now with a cup of juice in hand, occasionally glancing at the two children. Amid the harmonious comments, discordant voices began to infiltrate, multiplying and becoming increasingly jarring. What a brilliant performance. The biological mother's remains are barely cold, and the stepmother is already parading around for show? Rumor has it that the first wife's death was suspicious? How did this Miss Sue rise to prominence so quickly? The children are truly pitiful, used as tools for the stepmother's redemption. Boycott. Support Mrs. Lin in reclaiming custody of the children. These comments were clearly organized, flooding in at an alarming rate, mingled with sentimental reminiscences of the late ex-wife Lin Wei and malicious speculations about me. The atmosphere in the live broadcast shifted dramatically. Director Xiao Wang turned pale, urgently barking into his earpiece, "Control the comments. Hurry." He Jian had evidently received word as well. The housekeeper hurried over, whispering to me, "Madam, the sir requests that you refrain from looking at your phone and ignore it. He is handling the situation." I nodded, my expression remaining unchanged. Such a degree of vitriol was anticipated. The Lin family, the ex-wife's side, could no longer sit idly by. Previously, they had no grounds to make a fuss when the child was in danger. Now that my reputation was improving, they struck back immediately. The barrage of comments continued to escalate, with some even attempting to incite further animosity. Let the child talk about her biological mother. Let us see if the stepmother dares to mention it. Exactly. Ask the child if she misses her biological mother. The director was sweating profusely, desperate to pause the broadcast. I shook my head at him. Pausing? Wouldn't that affirm our guilt? Just then, Ching-Yu, who had been intently focused on his model, suddenly set down the pieces in his hands. He stood up, his small legs carrying him up the stairs with a determined clatter. The comments erupted. What's wrong with Ching-Yu? Is he affected by those malicious comments? My heart aches for the child. A few minutes later, Ching-Yu reappeared. He was holding a thick, somewhat worn hardcover notebook. He marched straight to the center of the living room, directly facing the main camera. He lifted his little face and addressed the lens, his voice steady and surprisingly calm for a 5-year-old. Director Uncle, may I have a moment? I would like to say a few words. Director Xiao Wang was momentarily stunned, instinctively glancing at me. I straightened my posture, my heart racing as I recognized the notebook in Ching-Yu's hands. When I first arrived at the He family, I secretly kept observation notes and interaction plans to understand those two children. Eventually, I deemed them useless and tucked them away at the bottom of the bookshelf. How did he find them? I nodded at him. The director immediately signaled for a close-up on Ching-Yu. In the live broadcast room, the gazes of millions of viewers were fixated on the 5-year-old boy. Ching-Yu took a deep breath and opened the notebook, which was filled with my hastily scribbled notes and doodles. He turned to one page where a crooked figure of a lounge chair, representing me, was drawn. Alongside the words, goal, establish basic trust. Strategy, do not force, do not disturb, keep promises like candy, provide support at points of interest like simple physics and chemistry experiments. Bottom line, safety, health, clear rules. He lifted the notebook towards the camera, clearly enunciating each word. This is Sue Wanqing's notebook. She wrote it when she first came to her home. The barrage of comments fell into a hushed silence. It stated that her objective was to establish trust. Ching-Yu continued, his small face serious. She succeeded. She didn't force me and my sister to call her mom, nor did she compel us to do things we didn't like. My sister loves candy, so she set a rule, 1 piece a day, and she kept her word. She wouldn't secretly tell Dad. Nor would she change the rules because we cried. He glanced at Hichiyue, who had paused her drawing, looking a bit bewildered. I enjoy reading physics books, and she found me more suitable ones, explaining difficult concepts using things from my sister or around the house. He furrowed his brow like a little adult, prompting a wave of comments, haha. But she wouldn't do like others, dragging me away from my books to memorize poetry or play the piano. His voice lowered as he recounted the time his sister fell into the pond, tinged with a hint of fear, yet soon regained its firmness. Su Wanqing was the first to rush over, lifting my sister up, telling her she was brave, but next time, she should call an adult first. She told her, "Your safety is worth more than 100 rabbits." He lifted his head, meeting the camera's gaze, his eyes clear and powerful. "I know what you are saying. I know my mother. Her name is Lin Wei. I miss her very much." His voice trembled slightly, but he fought to maintain composure. "She is ill and has gone far away. It's very sad." However, he raised his voice, infused with the undeniable seriousness unique to children. "Su Wanqing is not a bad person. She is not acting. She is simply kind to us in her own way." He paused, seemingly searching for the right word that would make us feel comfortable. He closed the notebook tightly against his chest, as if cradling a significant testament. "She allows us to miss our mother, and lets us call her Su or Su Wanqing." He looked at me, his small face bearing an unprecedented gravity. "But I want to allow you to speak of her that way. She is our Su Wanqing." His words rang out with conviction. The entire live broadcast room fell into an eerie silence. Even the frenzied comments, filled with negativity, abruptly halted. Moments later, a tsunami of comments completely inundated the screen. Crying. Really crying. "Qingyu darling. Angel. A 5-year-old. Clear logic. Full of emotions. Protecting his stepmother. That notebook. My goodness. The stepmother is serious. She has a plan. Being kind to us in her own way, making us feel comfortable." It broke through my defenses. "What about those who criticized her before? Come out and apologize." Madam Lin's hired commenters must feel embarrassed. A 5-year-old just slapped them in the face. "Su Wanqing, you deserve it." The camera panned to me. I sat in the lounge chair, still holding that cup of juice. The sunlight was a bit blinding, and I squinted slightly, gazing at the small figure in the center of the living room, who stood up for me, my throat feeling as if it were constricted by something. Hichiyue ran over as well. Though she didn't quite understand what was happening, she instinctively stood beside her brother, reaching out her small hand to grasp Hichiyue's, and turned to the camera, her voice sweet yet remarkably loud. "Don't bully Su. Su is the best. I like Su the most." Then, she released her brother and scampered over to me, climbing onto my lounge chair with her hands and feet before I could even react. Her paint-scented little body diving into my embrace, planting a loud kiss on my face. "Su, we love you," she declared loudly, the soft touch against my cheek, imbued with the warmth and sweetness unique to children, made me freeze. It wasn't that I hadn't been close to children before. In the orphanage, they expressed their feelings more directly. But at this moment, I was holding Hichiyue, the daughter of He Jian, my nominal stepdaughter. Her leap and kiss carried an extraordinary power, breaking through some invisible barrier. That part of my heart, which had always felt hard and cold, seemed to have been struck by this little warm furnace, cracking open a gap through which warm, unfamiliar feelings surged, coursing through my limbs. My nose tinged with a bit of acidity, and my eyes felt a little warm. Instinctively, I tightened my arms around this soft, warm little being. My throat constricted, rendering me momentarily speechless. The camera faithfully captured it all, my sudden stiffness, the fleeting glimmer of tears in my eyes, and finally, that somewhat clumsy yet utterly genuine return embrace. I even raised my hand to gently pat Hichiyue's back. Hichiyue remained standing in the center of the living room, clutching my old notebook like a little knight guarding a treasure. He watched as his sister rushed over to kiss me, observing me cradling her. His cool little face devoid of expression, yet the tips of his ears subtly reddened. He pressed his lips together, remaining silent, merely tightening his grip on the notebook. The comments erupted into chaos, with a flurry of awe and tears streaming flooding the screen. Chiyue, darling, kissed. Kissing. Stepmother hugged. Hugging. Look at Su Wanqing's expression. She panicked. She's moved. Qingyu's ears are red. He's shy. He has accepted her too. Family. This is what family looks like. What about the hired commenters? Where are they? Are their faces swollen? Madam Lin, look. This is the true voice of the children. The number of viewers in the live broadcast room had already surged when He Qingyu spoke, and at this moment, it reached its peak, causing the server to lag. Director Xiao Wang outside the camera was excitedly waving his fists, his face flushed. Just then, steady footsteps echoed from the entrance of the living room. He Jian had returned. He had evidently rushed back directly from the company, his suit impeccably pressed, a hint of urgency etched across his brow. His sharp gaze swept across the room, instantly grasping the unusual atmosphere. He saw his son in the center of the living room holding the notebook, his small face tense, and me, still in a state of shock, cradling his daughter on the lounge chair. His gaze finally settled on the main camera, his expression profound. The comments read, "Mr. He has arrived. A battlefield? What will Mr. He say?" He Jian strode forward, not approaching the children or me, but directly toward the main camera. His tall figure nearly obscured the entire lens. Facing the camera, his voice was low and steady, yet imbued with an undeniable authority and chill. Live broadcast suspended. It was not a suggestion but a command. Director Xiao Wang jolted, almost shouting, "Cut. Quick, cut the signal." Live broadcast suspended. The screen instantly went black, leaving only a line of small text. Live broadcast has ended. Millions of viewers were forcibly ejected from the room, left with a sense of anxious longing and countless questions. The villa fell into an immediate silence, with only the faint chirping of birds in the garden. He Jian then turned, his gaze heavy as it settled upon me and the child, He Qiyu, nestled in my arms. Sensing the shift in atmosphere, He Qiyu lifted her head, caught sight of her father, and instinctively recoiled slightly, whispering, "Daddy." He Jian did not respond, his eyes still fixed on my face, laden with scrutiny and an inexplicable complexity that I could not decipher. I straightened my posture, cradling He Qiyu, and met his gaze. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Was he here to hold me accountable for instigating the child? Or was it dissatisfaction regarding my exposure of familial discord in front of the camera? He Qingyu, clutching a notebook, silently approached and stood beside my lounge chair, his small frame radiating unspoken support. The air felt as though it had solidified around us. He Jian's gaze traversed between me and the two children before his taut jawline appeared to relax slightly. He stepped closer, not looking at me, but rather extending his hand towards He Qiyu in my embrace. "Qiyu, come here." He Qiyu glanced between her father and me, hesitating for a moment, yet obediently released her grip on me, sliding down from the lounge chair and walking towards He Jian. He Jian bent down and lifted his daughter into his arms, whereupon He Qiyu instinctively wrapped her arms around his neck. With He Qiyu in his embrace, He Jian finally redirected his attention towards me. After a few seconds of silence, he spoke, his tone inscrutable. "Did you teach Qingyu those words?" A weight settled in my heart. It was as I feared. Just as I was about to clarify, He Qingyu interjected, his voice not loud but strikingly clear. "No. I found the notebook myself, and wanted to say those things. Su Wenxing doesn't know." He Jian's gaze shifted to his son, now tinged with a faint pressure. He Qingyu met his father's eyes without flinching, his small fists clenched at his sides, repeating, "I want to protect her. No one is allowed to bully her." "Protect her?" He Jian echoed the term, his tone somewhat peculiar. His eyes returned to me, deep and piercing as if attempting to see through me. I inhaled deeply and rose from the lounge chair. Since evasion was futile, I would confront the matter head-on. He Jian, the notebook was written by me, but it was something from when I first arrived. It later ended up at the bottom of the bookshelf, and I had no idea Qingyu would find it. What he said today was indeed his own thoughts, spoken of his own accord. I was entirely unaware of it beforehand. My tone remained calm as I stated the facts. If you believe the child's behavior today was inappropriate, or if my words caused discomfort for your mother-in-law, the responsibility lies with me. How to address it is up to you. I braced myself, prepared for any outcome. Perhaps it would lead to a termination of the contract or a move out of this villa. Regardless, the salary outlined in the contract would sustain me for quite some time. He Jian remained silent, holding He Qiyu as he continued to observe me quietly. Seemingly sensing the low pressure emanating from her father, He Qiyu buried her small face into the crook of his neck. Time passed slowly, with the air thickening to a suffocating degree. Just as I believed he was about to deliver judgment, he unexpectedly posed an unrelated question. "Do you like that lounge chair?" I was taken aback. What an unexpected turn of events. My gaze instinctively darted to the lounge chair, which had molded to my form, and I answered honestly, "It's all right. Quite comfortable, actually." A barely perceptible smirk tugged at the corners of He Jian's mouth, a fleeting arc that was almost imperceptible. "Since it's comfortable," he said, cradling his daughter as he turned to walk back into the villa, his voice regaining its usual steadiness, then continued to lie down. He Chingyu. The two of them exchanged a glance, each reflecting confusion in the other's eyes. He Jian paused at the doorway to the living room, but did not turn around, his voice clear as he stated, and, Su Wanxing. A jolt ran through me. In the future, there's no need to specifically emphasize your family's Su Wanxing. He hesitated, seemingly contemplating his words, before ultimately leaving me with a simple declaration, you are. With that, he vanished into the depths of the house, holding He Chiyu. I stood there, the warm sunlight from the terrace cascading over me, a gentle breeze brushing my cheek, imbued with the fragrant essence of the garden. His final words rippled through my mind like a stone cast into a tranquil lake, sending concentric circles of thought through my heart. You are the Su Wanxing of this household? Or perhaps, you are simply Su Wanxing, without the need for further identification? Or more simply, you are you? This man always speaks in riddles. However, his directive to continue lying down was crystal clear. It seemed my employer had no immediate intention of dismissing me. I lowered my gaze to the side, where He Chinyu stood, notebook in hand, his expression serious. The declaration he made earlier, defending me, had truly taken me by surprise. The warmth in my heart surged once more. Thank you, Chungyu. I squatted to his level, meeting his gaze. However, next time you want to protect someone, perhaps you could discuss it with me first? You genuinely startled me just now. He Chungyu's cool demeanor remained unchanged, though the blush on his ears had yet to fade. He nodded, extending the notebook towards me. This is for you. I took back the old notebook that contained my initial strategic plans, feeling a wave of nostalgia. Flipping it open, I saw the haphazard plans and doodles that now seemed somewhat juvenile, yet they chronicled my clumsy attempts to navigate this bizarre world of affluence. Honestly, looking at He Chingyu, I admit it. At the beginning, I truly just wanted to fulfill my duties without causing any trouble. He Chingyu regarded me, his dark eyes calm like a still lake. I know. Mom always said it was for our own good, but their good often made us uncomfortable. He rarely mentioned Lin Wei, but in this moment, he used the term mom, his tone steady yet imbued with a wisdom beyond his years. Your peace of mind brings us comfort. Comfort. This was the second time he had utilized that word, simple yet piercing to the core. I ruffled his soft hair, delighted by its texture. This time, he did not shy away. As long as it brings you comfort. I smiled. Now let us go inside and check on your sister. It seemed the storm had finally subsided. He Jian had dealt with the aftermath in his own manner. The organized negative comments online vanished overnight, as if they had never existed. There was also a complete cessation of activity from Madame Lin. Although the final episode of the children's variety show had been abruptly cut short, He Chungyu's impassioned speech and He Chiyu's affectionate gesture towards me had been captured and shared by countless netizens. Keywords like genius child protecting stepmother, Chiyu kisses Sue, and philosophy of a wealthy stepmother raising children remained trending topics. My Weibo followers surged explosively, and my inbox overflowed with messages of apologies, support, and requests for parenting advice. I remained disinterested in managing the chaos. Life appeared to revert to its previous rhythm. He Chiyu had become my little shadow. Calling me susuis remarkable familiarity. He Chungyu, though still addressing me as Su Wanxing, occasionally sought me out with his physics problems, his gaze less scrutinizing and more trusting. The most notable change was that lounge chair on the terrace. It remained my favorite haven, but now there were two small children's chairs beside it. On pleasant days, He Chi would squeeze in beside me to doodle, while He Chingyu occupied the other chair, quietly engrossed in his reading. Sunlight bathed us in warmth, and the passage of time felt blissfully serene. He Jian continued to be busy, yet his returns home seemed more frequent. He no longer scrutinized me like a superior observing an employee as he had in the beginning. Occasionally, during dinner, he would inquire about the children's well-being, his gaze lingering on me for a few extra moments, imbued with curiosity and perhaps something else entirely. I could not decipher it, nor did I care to delve deeper. Until one particular weekend afternoon. He Jian, unusually absent from the office, sat in a single armchair by the living room's floor-to-ceiling window, perusing financial reports. I sprawled on the sofa, engrossed in a mindless drama on my tablet. He Chiyu was on the carpet nearby, dressing her Barbie dolls, while He Chingyu occupied a corner of the coffee table, engrossed in his new model. The atmosphere was remarkably harmonious and languorous. He Jian suddenly set down the tablet in his hand and turned to me. Next Wednesday evening, there will be a charity auction gala, and I require your company. I didn't even lift my eyelids.
Oh,
Have you found a suitable partner? In such circumstances, he typically had a fixed companion, a certain elegant and poised socialite.
no.
He Ji Yen replied calmly, "You will accompany me." I paused the tablet and finally raised my gaze to him.
Me?
Yes. He lifted a coffee cup beside him, sipping gracefully. "You are my wife, my legal spouse. It is entirely appropriate for you to attend such an event." His reasoning was sound, leaving no room for rebuttal. The contract did indeed include a clause regarding attendance at necessary social functions. Very well. I reopened the tablet. What do I need to prepare?
A gown.
Styling. Our butler will arrange everything. He hesitated for a moment before adding, "Do not be nervous. Just follow my lead." I acknowledged with a hum, feeling no particular excitement. Was it not merely a change of scenery to play the decorative role? After lying around for so long, standing up occasionally would suffice. However, Hichi dropped her Barbie doll and excitedly rushed over. "Is Sue going to the ball? Like a princess?" I pinched her little face. "It's a gala, not a ball. Besides, Sue is merely going as a backdrop." Hichunyu also looked up, his little face serious. "Do you need a bodyguard? There are always bad people at galas on TV. Ji Yan's lips seemed to twitch slightly. "No need," I chuckled. "Your father is here." Ji Yan glanced at me but remained silent, picking up the tablet once more. Yet, I thought I detected a fleeting glimmer of what resembled pleasure in his eyes. Soon, the evening of the gala arrived. The team arranged by the butler worked with remarkable efficiency. As I was enveloped in a champagne-hued satin gown, impeccably tailored yet exuding an extraordinary quality, my hair styled into an elegant bun and my face adorned with a subtle makeup, I gazed into the mirror at the unfamiliar yet exquisite woman before me, feeling somewhat dazed. Was this truly the same Su Wanxing who lounged as a salted fish on the terrace? Ji Yan awaited me downstairs, clad in a classic black tuxedo, his stature commanding and aura formidable. Upon seeing me descend the stairs, his gaze lingered on me for several seconds, his deep-set eyes revealing little emotion, merely nodding slightly. Not bad. The driver opened the car door. Settling into the opulent back seat of his Bentley, the spacious interior felt somewhat stifled with an unspoken tension. The crisp scent of cedar wafted subtly from him. The gala proceedings were straightforward, a cocktail hour before the auction commenced, where it sufficed to know a few individuals. If one preferred silence, a nod and a smile would suffice. "Just sit beside me during the auction," Ji Yan instructed, his gaze fixed ahead, concise in his directives. "Understood." I watched the neon lights blur by outside the window. "Mrs. Lin will be attending tonight," he stated suddenly, his tone neutral. My heart stirred slightly, and I turned to look at him. He remained focused ahead, his profile angular and firm. "Noted," I replied. "We'll face whatever comes." The gala was held in the city's premier 7-star hotel banquet hall. Crystal chandeliers sparkled, the air rich with fragrance and the sounds of clinking glasses. The moment we entered the venue, countless gazes converged upon us, filled with curiosity, scrutiny, and unabashed admiration. Ji Yan's arms subtly bent, signaling for me to link mine with his. I naturally obliged, feeling the warmth radiating from the well-defined muscles of his arm through the thin fabric. "Mr. He, Mrs. He." Immediately, someone approached with a glass in hand, beaming with pleasantries. Ji Yan navigated effortlessly among various dignitaries, steering conversations toward business, economics, and art collections. I merely needed to maintain a smile, occasionally nodding as he introduced me as his wife, Su Wanxing, playing the role of a beautiful, silent ornament. "Mrs. He possesses an outstanding demeanor, standing alongside Mr. He. They truly make a perfect pair." A bejeweled lady complimented with a smile. "You flatter me," I replied with a smile, feeling no ripples within. "I heard Mrs. He has been featured in a parenting show? A rather unique educational approach." Another inquired, probing. "As long as the children are happy," I responded with poise. Ji Yan occasionally glanced my way, his gaze laced with a barely perceptible approval. Perhaps he deemed me a reasonably competent ornament. After engaging with several groups, Ji Yan was encircled by a few business magnates discussing matters. He leaned in and murmured, "Take a seat in the lounge area for a while, have something to eat." Feeling as though a great burden had been lifted, I promptly released his arm and made my way to the relatively quiet lounge. Just as I grasped a glass of juice, I felt a sharp gaze land upon me. Looking up, I spotted a middle-aged woman clad in a deep purple qipao, elegantly maintained and exuding an air of regal sophistication, holding a glass as she coldly scrutinized me from across the crowd. A few equally affluent women surrounded her, whispering amongst themselves, their glances occasionally darting in my direction. Mrs. Lin, the mother of He Ji Yan's ex-wife. She had finally arrived. I calmly met her gaze, neither flinching nor provoking, simply observing her with an indifferent demeanor. Mrs. Lin seemed taken aback by my directness, the chill in her eyes intensifying. A faint, disdainful smile curled at the corners of her lips as she averted her gaze, as if I were but a speck of dust unworthy of her attention. I shrugged nonchalantly and took a sip of my juice. This level of hostility held no power over me. The auction segment soon commenced. He Ji Yan and I occupied the front row seats reserved for us. One by one, the auction items were presented: paintings, jewelry, antiques. He Ji Yan occasionally raised his paddle, casually acquiring a few pieces of interest as if merely purchasing trinkets. The next item up for bid was a diamond necklace themed on Paganini, donated by the Lin Wei Foundation, a cherished possession of Ms. Lin Wei during her lifetime. The auctioneer's voice carried a hint of excitement. A murmur of astonishment and discussion rippled through the crowd. The spotlight illuminated the necklace. Its design was audacious, featuring a rare deep blue diamond as the centerpiece, surrounded by a constellation of white diamonds, creating lines reminiscent of a wild musical score, dazzling and imbued with a sense of untamed tension. It indeed resembled the tremors of a devil playing on strings. I instinctively glanced at He Ji Yan beside me. He sat casually, yet when his gaze fell upon the necklace, an intricate emotion flickered in the depths of his eyes. So fleeting it was nearly imperceptible. Mrs. Lin sat diagonally in front of us, her posture upright and graceful, yet the hand resting on her lap tightened ever so slightly. The starting bid is 8 million, the auctioneer announced. The bidding escalated swiftly, clearly reflecting the necklace's value beyond its material worth, as it carried the legacy and legendary status of the late international pianist. The price soared, quickly surpassing 20 million. The number of bidders dwindled to just 2 or 3 determined buyers, the atmosphere thick with tension. Mrs. Lin's complexion appeared somewhat pale under the spotlight. This necklace had been her daughter's most cherished possession. Now, to auction it off was undoubtedly a public torment for her. Just as the auctioneer called out 24 million for the second time, He Ji Yan, who had remained silent until then, suddenly raised his bidding paddle. The room fell silent in an instant, all eyes converging on him. The auctioneer paused momentarily before raising his voice. Mr. He, 25 million. Mrs. Lin abruptly turned her head. Disbelief etched across her face as she looked at He Ji Yan, her eyes filled with shock, confusion, and even a hint of betrayed anger. He Ji Yan maintained his composure, as if he had merely bid on a commonplace artwork. 25 million, third and final call. Sold. The gavel fell, sealing the deal. Sparse applause erupted, overshadowed by murmurs of conversation. Countless gazes flitted between us and Mrs. Lin. He Ji Yan paid no heed to the attention, signaling his assistant to handle the transaction. The gala concluded amidst a peculiar atmosphere. In the car on our return journey, the silence felt heavier than on the way there. I gazed out at the fleeting night scenery and could not help but speak up. That necklace. It would complement your gown beautifully tonight. He Ji Yan interrupted me, his tone devoid of emotion. I turned in astonishment to gaze at him. The champagne-colored satin, complemented by that vibrant blue diamond as the centerpiece, exuded a wild and audacious allure. He turned his face slightly, his deep-set eyes appearing particularly profound in the dimly lit cabin. The necklace was a cherished memento of Lin Wei, who had expressed in her lifetime her hope that it would adorn the neck of one truly deserving. His voice remained calm as he spoke of the foundation's need for operational funds, stating that the auction was her wish. Who ultimately acquired it was of little consequence. I scrutinized his face, searching for any trace of pretense, yet all I discerned was a profound tranquility. He had purchased his ex-wife's relic for me? This maneuver was bewildering. Why? I asked directly. He did not respond immediately. As the vehicle entered the villa district, the shadows of swaying trees danced outside. Su Wanxing. He suddenly called my name, his voice deep. Your marriage to me was both an accident and a choice of mine. I require a wife who is low maintenance. Someone capable of stabilizing the situation and caring for the children. You have achieved this, even exceeding my expectations. The car came to a gradual halt before the villa. He did not exit but merely regarded me. That necklace is neither compensation nor a test. He paused, seemingly in search of the most precise phrasing. It is a key. A key? I echoed, bewildered. A key to unlock certain deliberately sealed pasts and to unveil possible futures. His gaze lingered heavily upon my face, imbued with scrutiny. Yet beneath it, something deeper seemed to stir. The He family estate was vast and empty. The children needed more than just a dutiful caretaker or a suitable spouse. He opened the car door, and the night breeze rushed in. "Su Wanxing," he said before stepping out, leaving me with a final thought. "Consider whether you might wish to try something different." The car door shut behind him, alone in the back seat. I watched his tall figure stride into the illuminated villa. His last words echoed in my mind like a bomb dropped into deep water, stirring up tumultuous waves within my heart. Try something different? What could that entail? Becoming the true Mrs. He? The genuine mother of He Chingyu and He Chiyu? His true wife, He Jians? The mere thought startled even me. I gazed at my blurred reflection in the window. My meticulously adorned face, now etched with confusion and an indescribable thrill. A key? He had bestowed upon me a key. Yet he had not revealed which door it was meant to unlock. Epilogue. On a sunlit weekend following the conclusion of the Children's program, the weather was exquisite. The lounge chair on the terrace remained my favorite spot, and two petite chairs were neatly arranged beside it. He Chi leaned over the small table, diligently coloring with crayons, depicting her imagined princess, Su Su, and Night Brother. He Chingyu, on the other hand, was engrossed in a new book titled Fun Astronomy. I half closed my eyes, relishing the warmth of the sun and the gentle breeze. My phone vibrated with a notification from Weibo. A trending topic caught my eye. Wife of He Corporation as president makes a low-key appearance. The devil's vibrato shines bright. The accompanying image was a candid shot from last night's financial summit dinner. He Ji Yen, clad in a dark suit, exuded a composed aura. I wore a simple black-fitted gown, adorned around my neck by none other than that devilishly vibrant necklace. The blue diamond sparkled with a deep brilliance under the lights, creating a striking contrast with my serene expression. The photograph was well captured. I saved it with a casual swipe. "Su Su," He Chiyu exclaimed as she rushed over, proudly presenting her drawing. "Look. This is you. This is brother. This is daddy." The artwork featured 4 crooked little figures holding hands, set against an exaggerated sun and blooming flowers. He Chengyu glanced up briefly, unusually refraining from critiquing his sister's artistic skills, instead adjusting his glasses and pointing at the small figure representing me. "Here, it lacks a necklace." He Chiyu gasped and quickly picked up a crayon, earnestly sketching a wobbly blue circle around the neck of my little figure. "All done. Su Su's beautiful necklace." I gazed at the innocent drawing, then at He Chingyu's earnest face, and felt a softening in my heart. My phone vibrated again, this time a message from He Jian, containing only 2 words and a location. "Tonight. Cloud Peak Restaurant." Cloud Peak Restaurant, the highest and most difficult to reserve revolving restaurant in the city, renowned for its romantic night views. I pondered the message, then looked at the 2 children absorbed in their own worlds, sunlight casting a warm golden sheen on their soft hair. Try something different? Perhaps I should indeed give it a try. I picked up my phone, hesitating for a moment over the screen before finally typing a single word. "Okay. Send." Setting my phone down, I reclined once more into the perfectly contoured lounge chair. Closing my eyes, the sunlight filtered through my eyelids, casting a warm red glow. The breeze was gentle, and time felt slow. In the distance, I could faintly hear He Chiyu humming an off-key tune, along with the rustling of pages as He Chingyu flipped through his book. A life of leisure seemed to be unveiling new vistas. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and liking to support. Until next time, farewell.